What's going on, guys? Reaper here. So I've got some things that I really want to talk to you guys about, and it's going to be pretty personal, and there's probably going to be some things in here that may be triggering to certain people, so I do apologize in advance for that. There's probably also some people watching this now that think maybe I shouldn't be posting this or making a video out of it or putting it out there to the internet or anything like that. And that's understandable and okay. But I don't really believe in that way of thinking, I guess, because I feel like if more of us kind of shared like situations like what I'm going to share with you guys in this video, and just kind of talked to people, let other people know that you're not alone, and these are okay. These things are natural in life to deal with, but I think that can also be really helpful to other people dealing with certain things and going through certain things, and let them know that, hey man, if more of us were open about this, and it could be, like with you might be having a situation that maybe you need to be open about this, and maybe you need to talk about these things. So my goal here is to hopefully help somebody else and maybe make you guys realize or see something that you weren't really noticing or seeing before, or just to feel that connection with somebody else as well. So last night I had a complete and total emotional breakdown. And see, that's okay though, because it's something that I knew was going to happen. I knew it was coming. I just didn't really know when and how and what. And it's something that needed to happen, and I needed it to happen. I'll tell you more about that here in a minute, because I want to just kind of explain to you guys what my life has kind of been like for the past couple of months. What's going on in my life that has, that led to, well, last night, essentially. So for those of you that don't know, if you're new here, or this is the first video you've ever seen that I've made, I'm just going to kind of give you the quick and dirty and let you know what's been going on. So about 2 months ago, I had somebody very, very close to me unfortunately pass away due to the results of a car wreck. And I say that person was really close to me because essentially, in so many words, even though we weren't blood related or anything like that, she was my sister. We kind of basically somewhat grew up together, and there's a lot of things that happened over the course of the years, and we all got separated, and I got separated from that part of the family and things like that. And then we rekindled and were able to find each other again, me and the whole family, And it's like we didn't skip a beat, right back to being like brother and sister, So you can just imagine something like that is, well, it's hard to find out and hear that you just lost, family. It was a very heartbreaking time. But shortly after that, maybe not even a full 2 weeks later, my dad, Father Time, unfortunately had a very severe and major stroke. So for the past month and a half or so now, that is something I've been having to go through and deal with. And I think for about the first month or so, first 3 weeks, I'd been right in it the whole time, 24/7 almost, at the hospital and making decisions and just being presented with a lot of fear. That was just a lot of overwhelming things that I thought I had prepared myself for. But I don't think you can really fully prepare yourself for something like that. It's just a part of life, and you have to go through the motions. So to add to all of that, I found out about a week or so ago, and I'm not going to get really too deep into this one, just because of the family and everything, but somebody else who was very close to me, and essentially, again, like family, wound up, they found that she had a brain tumor. And thankfully, they were able to remove it. I've heard all about that today, so But that, you can just imagine with all of that and everything else going on in that moment, that added kind of like another brick to the stack. So, as you can imagine, the past couple of months have kind of been a lot like just pure hell. I mean, emotional and physical stress, and a lot of heartache and stuff like that, and trying to deal with it all, one after the other, and putting it together like that. I thought I was handling and dealing with things pretty well, and basically dealing with it as it was coming, but the reality is, and I can look back at it now too, and recognize, and I was even recognizing it as it was happening, which is kind of a big fault of my own. I was taking bits and pieces and pushing it aside and not, really dealing with it, more or less saving it to, oh, I'll deal with this later type of thing. Unfortunately, by doing that, it started to bottle up. I bottled it up. And just like last night, it finally caught up to me. And like I said, I knew it was coming. I knew it was going to happen. And I think just about everyone around me, everybody that knows me, and everybody that, I know has been through these situations and things similar to this, and just, had to experience these types of feelings and situations. They all knew it was coming. They just didn't know when, and they didn't know how or what, but they knew it was coming. And like I said, so do I. I like to think of myself, and I'm pretty sure, that I am a very self-aware person. And so much so, knowing this was coming, I even kind of like told myself, I'm like, hey dude, this is on its way. This is gonna happen. And I was starting to try and like prepare myself and just make myself hit a point in a situation that, hey, sit down, talk about it if you need to talk about it, let it happen, get it out, and hey, just take care of yourself. Take a moment, take some time to stop and take care of yourself. And unfortunately, I just didn't really do that. And part of it is, the reality that, well, I was just constantly on the move, constantly going for the past month and a half, I didn't feel like I had time to go ahead and stop and deal with that. And a lot of that kind of, I think, stems from like being a man. We're taught, we're told, we're programmed at a young age to, be strong. Men don't cry. Men hide that stuff. They they bottle it up. They keep it inside, and honestly, that's not right. That's wrong. Having people think and put that on you is just wrong. And we get that a lot from, maybe our upbringing. Our parents tell us that, friends tell us that, the world tells us that, women tell us that, other men tell us that, So then we feel like we need to be that strong thing constantly. Like we can never take a break. Like we can never have a moment to just feel everything and let it out. And I want you guys to know that that's not okay. That's wrong. You need to be able to take a moment. And just like the past 2 months for me, it all built up, and that's natural. That's a natural human response over time. That's kind of what makes us human. Or it's a big part of what makes us human, to be able to feel all of that. And, having a breakdown, having it come to you and crying and letting it out, it's perfectly okay. You don't ever need to be in a position where you feel that, it's wrong. Like you're wrong for doing that or having that happen. And you should never let anybody make you feel that way. Like I said, it's perfectly okay. It's fine to, let yourself break for a moment. Especially if you've got a lot of things going on in your life, a lot of things are kind of weighing you down. Maybe you're in the same boat I am and you're having to go through a just really awful life experience, but it's a part of life and you shouldn't be afraid of that. So last night, or part of yesterday evening leading into the night, is kind of when everything just hit. And I don't want to say that I didn't know Like I didn't feel like it was coming or something like that. I think I knew, and I could kind of feel some of the buildup. I just thought, that no, I'm just a little stressed out today. It'll be good. But unfortunately, that wasn't really true. And it's not something, it's not like somebody triggered me. It's not like something happened that triggered me or just made it happen. It was just time. I put some weight on myself that was kind of really unfair to me, and I knew that, and I know that. But I think just in that moment, I had that feeling of this or that, and I was like, oh yeah. So I put it on myself, and that was just the final brick, and that's what caused everything to kind of crumble down. But it happened so quickly that like it was just kind of like being blindsided. I don't think I got up out of this chair and walked maybe 10 feet, and I just felt it. It was there, and I was like, mm-hmm. It's like a weird thing to say, but I got really angry with myself. I got mad at myself for the fact that, hey, I hadn't dealt with this already, and now it's hitting, and now I'm just mad that it's hitting. And the stupidest thing, guys, I hate to say this, it's so weird just coming out and saying it, but as a result of that and feeling that just in that split second, man, I turned to the wall and looked at the wall and unfortunately knocked a hole in it. So yeah, about that. Oops. Now I don't want to make it sound like I'm an aggressive person or or anything like that, because I'm really not an aggressive person. I'm not violent. And it wasn't a thing like I didn't want to destroy anything. I didn't want to break anything. I didn't want to hurt anything or anyone or even myself or anything like that. I think it was just that momentary feeling of, hey, okay, there's a little bit of that anger, and that comes with things like this, and I know that. But unfortunately, I also made a very, very stupid decision, because I think in that moment I don't think I know, in that moment I was I don't know, things were just kind of blurry. I had a momentary lapse in logical thinking. I think I just wanted to talk. I wanted to tell somebody, what had just happened and how I was feeling. And instead of like picking up the phone right then, because my brain wasn't thinking about I went to Facebook and made a stupid post instead of like going back and just deleting it and everything, because things were just unfolding all at once. So I put that out there, which that's a completely unfair thing to do for everybody that had to see it. And I put this feeling out there to people, that ultimately wound up being really concerned and worried about me, and they didn't need to be. That was a very stupid thing to do. But these things happen, and sometimes we do things like that. That's a part of being human. I think I was pretty embarrassed by it, and unfortunately it also caused a few shifts in my life that I'd like to say I'm okay with. I guess I'm kind of okay with it. I just think that it's very unfortunate, and it kind of sucks that it caused some shifts there. Yeah, I had to own up to it. I had to be a man about it and just apologize to everyone and basically, just say, hey, this is on me. I accept full responsibility for that, and that's how it should be. After that, it really just hit, and I felt the overwhelmingness of everything that's just happened in the past couple months, and it became too much. I had to have that time. I started kind of hyperventilating, and that's something I've never done before. That's not something that really I've never had an issue with. And so I think that was very eye-opening, and it just kind of scared me even further for that period of time. And I went ahead and reached out and called a friend of mine, and it was even more stressful because, man, I couldn't get myself to breathe, and because of that, I couldn't really express or get things out, and that just kind of irritated me. And so, yeah, I'm not ashamed of what happened last night, what I had to experience, what I went through. I'm glad it happened. I'm glad it finally happened, actually, because like I said, I knew it was coming, and I knew it needed to happen. So thankfully it did. And so this is like a part of me that kind of explains a lot of growth and a lot of healing and a lot of the work I've just put into myself over the years to understand and recognize is that, a very old version of me dealt with really, really bad, unfortunate depression for a very long time. That's a very hard thing to figure out how to get out of, and it's a very hard thing to find a way to finally be okay, I guess, to get away from the dark side of things. Just like the wall thing. I've only ever done something like that 2 other times in my life. One was a very long time ago in like 2010. I was in England, again, very dark place in my life, dealing with a lot of depression, a lot of feelings. I wasn't very self-aware of anything at all, and probably didn't want to be. I have to say, I really didn't want to be. I didn't care. And I just got stuck in this funk and very broken manish, and that was kind of like the early start of my life into alcoholism. Yeah, so I wasn't very good at controlling my emotions or recognizing, certain things. I laugh at it now because, all of my friends that were there and saw and knew what happened, they made a pretty good running joke of that over the years. Thanks, guys. But, no, so, like, the whole situation with that, and that's how I can recognize, like, last night, is that I was angry with myself when I did it. I had just done something to a friend that I don't think I intended to do. He had just told me something, said, hey, don't do this, and it didn't click and recognize, it didn't go into my brain properly at the time. Went to give my friend a hug and gave him a bear hug, and he had some back problems, and it really hurt him, and I didn't, like I said, it didn't dawn on me until I had done it. Oh, that's what yeah, okay, makes sense. Well, I'm a very empathetic person. I guess I felt that in that moment, and then I was just upset with myself. I was so mad with myself that I had just done that. And it wasn't anything real bad, he wasn't really mad at me. He just needed a moment to, hey man, like that wasn't cool, and okay, yeah, So I took that way, 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 way worse than I should have. And like I said, ultimately it wasn't a big deal, but I turned it into a big deal. And now that it's happened this time, and with everything that's just been going on in my life, I recognize that. I was just mad with myself, I'm the type of person now that I am capable of processing things a lot quicker than I'd say most people. And that's just because of all the work I put in to get here. With that, I'm able to look at myself and look at the situation and basically kind of objectively, really. Like, I can pull myself from the whole situation and look at what just happened. Look at myself like I'm looking at somebody else's life. And that's a very difficult thing for a lot of people. There's not a lot of people, I think, that can really do that. Or I would say, to be honest with you, that's actually wrong. I think everybody can do that. It's just maybe you're not ready yet. Maybe you haven't gone through the motions to get yourself to that point. But, like for me, that's what I did today. I was able to pull myself out of it. I took the day to reflect and process and just think about everything and look at myself and ask myself, well, some very serious questions, how, why, what? Just go back through the whole thing like I was, like I said, watching somebody else's life and seeing, just experiencing them a little bit differently. If this was me 3 to 5 years ago, man, I promise you, no, I wouldn't have been able to do that. That's not something I was capable of doing then. That's just a testament to how much work I put into myself over the years. Like I said, so last night was something I needed to go through. I needed to experience it. And I'm getting into this detail and telling you guys all of this so you have a better understanding of, well, just me in general and things that, I've been through in my life and things that are going on in my life. That way you can identify with me, and that way you don't feel like, the feelings you're having are wrong, or that, just so you don't feel alone. I know it's really easy to be going through certain things, and especially things like this, to absolutely feel alone. You know, I don't want you guys to think like I'm just talking out my ass and don't know what it feels like, and, you know, haven't experienced any of that stuff, or that I can't identify with you. And normally I'm a pretty private person. You know, I wouldn't say that everything I'm telling you guys and talking to you about right now is something I would normally share with everyone or the world. But over the past month I have been. And I think a lot of that, or I know a lot of that, is it helps me connect, well, just express to people. And, you know, sharing these parts of my life as they're happening and unfolding could potentially help somebody else. You know, I'm not looking, like I said, I'm not looking for the attention of it. I draw immense inspiration in times like this because I'm feeling it, it's happening. And that allows me to share with other people and talk to them and let them know that, you know, hey, it's okay not to be okay sometimes. I know I'm reiterating myself on some of these things, but a lot of that's because I want it to sink in. I really want you to get it and hear it. You know, it's kind of like planting a seed, really. But just remember, this is normal. It's okay. You know, a lot of people handle things differently. Each person is different. You know, one person may handle something completely different than how you're handling it, and that's fine. Don't let yourself feel like you're not handling it properly because that person handled it this way or that way, or like, say, how I'm handling things right now. You know, you may be handling things in a very different way that maybe to you seems even more harsh than how I'm handling it, and that may make you feel like there's something really wrong and that you're not handling it very well. But like I said, everyone is just different when it comes to these things. And just kind of like with me last night when everything hit, even after all the years and effort and work I've put into myself and growing and healing things, there was these moments while it was all happening that I felt all of that stuff again for essentially just a short period of time, really. I mean, it felt like a really long time, but it came, or it went as quickly as it came, and that will happen with some people. You know, just like me, it flooded in a bunch of things that I don't even struggle with anymore, and it's kind of a weird feeling, and I don't really know how to explain it to you unless you've already been through it or you're going through it. But basically, when you break like that, and you've already got all these things just weighing down on you, like you know, like it's the weight of the world that you're carrying, and you finally have that breaking point. There's a lot of feelings and emotions and things that expect that it is a very strong possibility that all those feelings and emotions over your life can rush back in with that feeling, because, you know, it's basically you've just broken the dam. And if those things are all flooding back in that moment, this is a very important thing, because like for me, I had to look at it and ask myself the question of, wow, did I really work through these things? Did I really heal or fix these things that all of a sudden I just felt again? And the reality is, yes, I have. But I had to feel them again. I think we just have moments in our life, you know, those little bits and pieces of time you're going to re-experience and feel in very unfortunate and, I guess, sad, heartbreaking situation. And even though that's not something you're really worried about, or that, like I said, affects you anymore, but you may have a moment where you feel them all again. And that is okay, guys. Seriously, it's okay. You know, don't second guess yourself. Don't beat yourself up about it. When the time comes, when it happens, and you have a situation like this, or you're in that place, this is a very, very important step. And this is also where a lot of people are very different, kind of like myself. I had to work very hard to be able to get to where I am, to be able to do something like this. And some people can naturally do it, and then others not so much. It's when this happens, okay, you need to take the time after. You know, once you're depleted, you're exhausted, you're burnt out, you know, you've let it all out. Remember, and while this is happening too, remember, feel it. Don't fight it. Let it out. Let it happen. Experience that. Feel those feelings. And then after that, go ahead and get your rest. Do your best to get some rest. And then start processing it. Go through it. Ask yourself those questions. Some people can't do that. Some people it takes 2-3 days, maybe a couple weeks, and that's okay. That is perfectly fine. Like I said, everybody is different, and they have to do things a little differently than what this person or that person does. But it's important, though, that you don't let yourself get stuck. Some people and sometimes, and I know this because I've been there. I've been through that. I know exactly how and what happens if you don't deal with it and find a way to deal with it. You wind up in a very dark place. And you can wind up in that dark place for a very, very long time. And then it eats at you and it destroys you over weeks, months, years. Don't be ashamed to ask for help. I know that to ask for help and to, whether it be seeking counseling or, maybe talking to a friend or something, can be a very uncomfortable thing. But it may also be something that you need to do to really make the right steps to properly move forward and deal with these things. It's going to be uncomfortable, and that's okay too. Being uncomfortable that's perfectly okay. And in fact, a lot of times we have to be uncomfortable, and we have to be in uncomfortable situations to really take the steps we need to take to grow and to be a better us. So if you're watching this, maybe you've already gone through something like this. Maybe you're going through it now, or maybe you're in a position where somebody you know and care about is going through this. And that's a whole other side of things too, that can affect you. That can definitely affect a person. Because maybe you don't know how to deal with it. Maybe you don't know what to do. And realistically with that, I've been in that position too. I've been on that side of things. It's a very hard, difficult thing. It's very stressful just like this, because then, you're feeling things and you're letting things start to get to you as well. And again, that's okay. That's all a part of it, and that's especially a part of, caring about somebody. And that's a very important thing. The best advice I can give you in that situation is do everything you can to be there for that person. Support them as much as you possibly can. Now, within reason, I understand, you can go overboard and, again, cause yourself a lot of stress and put yourself almost in the same position. But that's where the important part of making sure you take care of you. Take care of yourself. Make sure you're taking those steps to ensure that you're also okay. Because ultimately, if you're not taking care of yourself and you're not in a good place, then you're not going to be able to take care of them and have them be in a good place either. One thing I would really say that I think is also very important, because this is a hard thing, it happens a lot, and it's just because people don't really, I think, know how to deal with and handle these situations, and that's fully understandable. Because it is hard. It's a very hard thing, a hard place to be on either side of it, Don't pull away from that person because of what they're going through. Don't let that situation change how you feel or, how you think of them. Because ultimately, what happens when you do that, but you're also hurting yourself. I know that probably doesn't compute to some people, and they probably think that's wrong, but it's a reality, because it is a part of being human, and that may be something that's deep-rooted in us, that we're afraid to, have that full connection and do that for that person. In a way, you want to disconnect. You want to back away from it. You're seeing a part of somebody that is very difficult, and in some way, I guess you're holding that against them, because you don't want to have those feelings. You don't want to fall into something that maybe you're afraid is going to affect you. But just remember, it's very important that you don't pull away from them. You don't let that temporary time in their life, that situation change, like I said, how you feel about them, how you see them. how you think about them. Because, like I said, that can damage you. That can cause some problems with you over time. But also, having experienced this and been through it, I'm able to see these things and know that, well, by sticking by that person and just kind of being there and letting, like I said, that temporary point in their life pass, and you experience it with them to the best of your abilities, and not letting it, like I said, change how you see or feel or think about them, you ultimately create a super strong bond through that. And one that can probably never be unbroken. And it's a rare thing that people get to have that type of bond with somebody, especially in that type of, or that moment in their life, a thing that they're really struggling with or that's really hard for them. Because you're the one there. You're the one putting in that effort. You're the one, doing everything you can for them. It's one of those things that you realize that if you can't do that in a temporary situation or temporary moment of darkness and pain and things going on, then it kind of speaks volumes about you. And I know that because I unfortunately was in that position at one point in my life, that there was somebody that was going through something like I'm going through. But for some reason, I pulled away from them, and I let myself change how I saw them and what I thought about them. And I don't know why, or at least I didn't know why then. I mean, I've figured that out over the years. I just didn't know why then. Yeah, it's a damaging thing. It took me a long time to deal with that one and get over that, and then also try to heal something that I now kind of broke and didn't realize. Yeah, I had to spend a lot of time working on myself over that one, and then figure out how to fix that, because I had no right. It wasn't my right to take their temporary situation and look at them differently, feel differently about them, think differently about them because of what they were doing and how they were having to experience it. And that was just an unfair thing of me to do. And luckily I was able to fix that and change the overall outcome by, well, looking into myself and dealing with it and reversing that. It broke a bond that we already had, and it prevented me from creating that bond that we should have just had from day one with all of that going on. So thankfully I've been able to recover that and create, well, a new strong bond through all of that, and working through that with them after the fact of certain things. But I've also been in this position again where I made sure I didn't make that same mistake. That's really what it was. It was a big mistake. And it doesn't matter if it's a friend or a lover or whatever. It can be whoever. And I think that's a part of us sometimes that we don't always recognize at the time, and we think that, we're protecting ourselves. And ultimately that's what it's about. We're trying to protect ourselves from that. And again, that's okay. But sometimes maybe we don't need to protect ourselves from that. And maybe we just need to go ahead and be more vulnerable and open and be that for somebody for a temporary point in time. If it was something that it was just a daily thing, nonstop, no end in sight type of deal, then I would say, yeah, that's a very toxic thing to have to try and put up with and deal with and put yourself in a position to deal with. Also know that because I've done that and I've been there with people. And I just know what that does and how that affects me long term. Short term, I'm strong enough to bear and deal with those things. And like I said, essentially the reward of being able to do that for somebody else it just outweighs that little bit of hurt and pain and fear that you're going to have in those moments. Thankfully, that's something I've been able to figure out and learn over the years and be that for other people. And that's something I want to continue to do and be and put out there for other people. Just remember, it's okay not to be okay sometimes. You know, I don't care how much growth or healing or work you've put into yourself or how aware or self-aware you are. This is something that's still going to happen. It's a natural and normal part of being human. It's a natural and normal part of having feelings and emotions. We're supposed to go through these things. We're supposed to feel these things. You know, God made us this way for a reason. It's just an unfortunate part of life. And it can be very painful, and it can be very hard, and I understand that. Ultimately, I just want you to remember that it is temporary. It is okay. You are going to get through this. It is going to get better. You are stronger than you think you are. I know that. And I know that it's going to be okay because I'm okay. I've been through these things before, and I'm going through things now, and I have no doubt in my mind there's going to be another day in my life, another something, you know, because life is full of unfortunate and dark things and hurt and pain, you know. And again, we're supposed to experience all of that. So one day it'll happen again. I just know that when it happens again, no matter when it is, no matter why or what, it's gonna be different for me the next time, just like it was different for me this time. And all the things I've gone through in my life, they were all different. But it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. So I really hope that this video helps or helped you or help somebody else, you know, maybe somebody in your life going through these types of things. And maybe in some way, you know, it helps you find a way to help them or to be there for them or just to be kind of what they need for, like I said, this very temporary moment in their life. That's all it is. It's temporary. It's going to go away. It's going to get better. And things are going to be okay, guys. Trust me on that. Believe me on that. Because if you trust and believe in yourself in these situations, that's really going to help you. That's really going to be the end-all be-all, because then you're going to make it happen. So I just want you guys to know that I love you, I believe in you, and I'm praying for you. So with all of that, guys, Reaper out.